Let's start with this paracetamol story. We've got a real old-fashioned head-on collision here. We've got Donald Trump saying that using paracetamol when pregnant raises the risk of autism in women and in their children, rather. And he calls the commissioner of the Federal Drug Administration, no less, to back him up. Meanwhile, every health expert and organisation you can shake a stick at in this country says it's utter nonsense. It's irresponsible, dangerous pseudo-science. Head-to-head.
We're back to disinfectant and COVID, aren't we? Who would you believe? A medical expert, a scientist, somebody steeped in this, or Donald Trump? If you're going to believe Donald Trump, I'm afraid you're going to put yourself and your child at risk. I mean, it's end of, isn't it? I mean, the bloke's a great conspiracy theory. He's got a lot of people in his base who always go in for conspiracy theories. He can fire them up, and that's it. But it does huge damage. Potentially.
What I'm scratching my head at the moment, and maybe we'll get an answer in the next day or so, is why would he do this?
Well, you can never... It's a great question with Donald Trump. Why does he do something? Look, he's an erratic man. He's mercurial. I don't know. And I remember watching him. I was doing a show on LBC at the time, live, when he was talking about bleach and how it could be a repellent for COVID. I'm thinking... This is the President of the United States.
Meaning if you drank it?
Yes, yes. However, I mean, my own newspaper has spoken to an august professional, a leading figure in her field, who doesn't say it's a cause, but says there is a link.
Some studies have found a link, says Professor Gina Rippon, who is Professor Emeritus of Cognitive Neuroimaging at the Aston Brain Centre, Aston University, and author of The Lost Girls of Autism. So, listen, there is a question, isn't there, about why we have increasing rates of autism in children. And parents of autism want to know the reason why. And so the new US Health Secretary, Robert Kennedy Jr., said that he would launch a commission to look into the soaring rates of autism. And I think many, many people welcomed that because why not try to get to the bottom of it? But then to come out with the fact and state as fact that there is a causal link between paracetamol, known in America as Tylenol, and autism, then is very misleading. They refer to a study in August where Harvard scientists concluded there was, according to the professor this morning, some evidence of a link, but there were other factors, such as maternal health factors, maternal health problems also associated with autism. And this professor says it could be exposure to other things, other environmental factors. It also could be the genes you inherit. So there are multiple links between environmental factors, genetic factors and autism. There is not one cause. And so it seems that this is highly misleading. And the trouble is, if you're a pregnant woman right now, you might think, I won't take paracetamol. And if you have a high fever, presumably that is more of a risk than any causal link with autism.
Because the trouble is, the President, in that small briefing, it's too black and white. He's not new. There was no nuance in what he said, as ever.
I want to say it like it is, he says. Don't take Tylenol.
After Trump said disinfectant could protect you from COVID, a friend who has a GP service in the Midlands, they had a woman came in who drank Dettol. She drank Dettol and damaged her mouth and throat. Thankfully, she hadn't. I believe she hadn't swallowed it because it was the reflex. So people can respond, and they go on the web, and then you'll find another group saying, "Yes, this is it." And we've been here before. It's highly irresponsible.
Well, the problem
absolutely
here is
irresponsible.
It's not a case of actively doing something like swallowing bleach or Dettol. It's, if you like, easier to go along with the flow of what Trump has said because you're simply not doing something. You're not taking paracetamol. And yes, I can imagine, or any number of pregnant women this morning who would think, well, better safe than sorry. While this row unfolds, if I can possibly avoid taking it, I will. I'm sure a lot of women would think that, and that potentially is dangerous.
And without, sort of almost going into Trump territory, I've read other people say, hang on, you've got a fever. If you don't get that fever down, you're more likely to damage, or your child is at risk, your unborn child is at risk. So...
In America, 1 in 36 children is diagnosed with autism. In the UK, it's 1 in 57. So it's not quite as common in the UK as it is
But it's much more prevalent
US.
than when we were children.
Yes.
Because there's
We just
better
didn't hear about
diagnosis.
Very likely.
Partly.
There used to be a lot of kids with conditions
Yeah.
that would, and adults, they would just go undiagnosed. Now, there's an argument, are too many people diagnosed now? But you have spectrums of any condition. Are we taking too many people into account who only have conditions that are mildly? But I know people who are autistic and they're absolutely fantastic and live a full life and high achievers and everything. Then there are other children who really struggle with a lot of help.
The other problem with Trump is he's just so sloppy in his associated remarks. One of the things he said yesterday, as a statement of fact, was that the Amish community in America doesn't experience autism because they don't take any drugs and they don't have vaccinations and all the rest of it. And they're an isolated community. Absolute nonsense. The Amish community does experience autism. Not at quite the same level as the broader population, but that's very often speculated because they don't report it as much.
Because they
certainly have autism.
I've been to that part of Pennsylvania and they isolate themselves. They kind of live in their own community, so they don't interact.
But to say that they don't experience autism in their community is just factually not true.
This is classic Trump, who likes to set an agenda and dominate an agenda and then move on to the next bomb.
And
he's going to drop.
And he doesn't really care about the implications and what happens. It's not his style.
A 2024 study of 2.5 million Swedish children, led by scientists from the eminent Karolinska Institute, found no association between paracetamol use during pregnancy and children's risk of autism. So if anything should reassure pregnant mums this morning, that should be it.
But it won't, will it? That's the trouble. The damage has been done.
Yeah.
He's done the damage.
And of course, Donald Trump, particularly in America, has a huge following. What he says goes.
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
The President of the United States.
The share price in the company that makes, it's called Tylenol in America, paracetamol here, that has absolutely gone through the floor.
Yeah, of course.
After this.
Right, let's move on to talk about what's happening to the Duchess of York. We found out yesterday and discussed at this time on the programme this email that she sent to Jeffrey Epstein, calling him her supreme friend. Her spokesperson said yesterday, well, that's because she was going to be sued for defamation for referring to him as a paedophile when she publicly distanced herself from him. Now, 7 charities have publicly distanced themselves from her. And you can, I mean, it's no surprise why. It's, you know, reputationally, it's incredibly damaging. And particularly children's charities want nothing to do with anybody who's called a paedophile their friend.
It does feel like this is the final reckoning for Sarah Ferguson. It's been a long time coming. And the King has been incredibly forgiving. So at Christmas at Sandringham, there she was, with his permission, with the family, at church. They then spend Christmas together. I can't believe that's going to happen ever again.
So you're not buying this explanation that she called him her friend and apologised. She was hellaciously sorry for what she'd said because she was at risk of being sued.
No, I think she wanted to continue the financial relationship. And Andrew Lowney, who wrote that book about Prince Andrew, has written in the Mail today, he doesn't believe that it was £15,000 that he gave her to sort her debts out. Closer, he thinks, to £2 million.
Does it make any difference if it was because she was worried she was going to be sued, though? You publicly distance yourself from him, condemn his actions, and then privately you're apologising and sucking up to him. I mean, the hypocrisy.
I don't believe that she genuinely did think she was going to be sued, because how can a man who's been jailed for a paedophile offence sue someone for calling him a paedophile? You can't.
And
your reputation's gone. You don't have a reputation left to defend. So if anybody legally advised her that she was at risk of being sued, was an idiot, because she was in no risk of being sued.
And in crude terms, why would the royal family want a paedophile's friend with them at church or at Christmas? I know Christmas is a time of Christian compassion, but it's just not acceptable.
Well, there's a difference, isn't there, between private and public.
Yes.
You can have your family with you.
Of course you can.
You know, because you can be endlessly forgiving as a family and want to include people. And, you know, there's grandchildren here, aren't there, for the King as well, that he wants to be, you know, considerate of, and children who love their parents. But it's the public image, isn't it? And I think what a lot of people think is extraordinary is the constant public appearance of Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
And then now, of course,
And
Sarah,
those images, particularly at Christmas, are broadcast around the world. So there are we going to see her again? The paedophile's friend, the paedophile's apologist, breaking bread at church
Why is
with
it
the royal
so
family.
important to them, Kevin? Because you can imagine the king can quite easily say, "You're very welcome at Sandringham. You can be there. You're still part of the family. We'll never cast you out, but we're not going to do the walk outside the church with you."
Yeah, aren't we getting to the the core of the flaw of having a hereditary monarchy?
You've started him.
No.
Here
That
we go.
one.
Well, let's listen to
That
him.
one.
I think I've heard this one before. I know where we're going with this.
We'd like to. He's a guest on the programme as well, Andrew.
I get you monarchists want to defend your medieval system of privilege.
Yes,
I get it. No. But it is because we put a family on a pedestal. That's why it just passes down generations, head of state, everyone around them. They're all privileged, get lots of perks. You're supposed to look up to them.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's warts and all, and often the warts are worse than what you get from the all.
I mean,
Come on.
Can you even imagine Princess Anne associating with Epstein?
No, I can't. No, I can't. But you've got the king's eldest brother, or just one next down, is clearly pushed to one side, but not entirely. And I understand why he's allowed to funerals. You've got his wife. I mean, this is his ex-wife. This is
They've
pretty...
been divorced for 30 years.
It's pretty horrible.
People forget that.
Well, until now...
But this is why the whole system of looking up to a family is wrong.
Until now, Sarah Ferguson has
I'm not doing it.
successfully been a counterbalance to Andrew, hasn't she? She, to some extent, has helped to restore his reputation by sticking with him and by doing good works with charities and all the rest of it. That's all gone now. That's exploded. So, in real terms, what effect is this going to have on the two of them? Does this mean we won't ever see them at Balmoral again? Does it mean that the pressure on them to leave their house at Windsor might increase?
Well, all of that, but I don't know the rules about how they're going to get him out of Windsor. I interviewed Andrew twice, once for the Telegraph, once for the Mail. That lodge, it's quite extraordinary. When I went there the first time, I thought it was going to be maybe 4 or 5. It's colossal.
Really?
It's like a stately home. And as I was waiting for him to... I heard this whirring sound. A helicopter, that's it. Look at that. A helicopter landed in the grounds, and we got in a helicopter, and we went to the Midlands. And I said, why are we not in a car? Why aren't we in a train?
Oh, because that's
Because I get to do more engagement. So this is why people call you Air Miles Andy. They are in... It is another world. It is a completely another world they're in, and that's why they don't want to give it up. But it is... You do not need all that space for two people, because she lives there too. You wouldn't see her for a month if you didn't have to, because it is so big.
Maybe that's how it works.
He's got a watertight lease on that place, though, hasn't he?
I think he has.
Legally, it's going to be very difficult to get it.
Yeah, but there's going to be renewed questions now about their finances and their friends and their interest. And I hope none of these charities were paying her. I think they're very unlikely to.
No, they won't.
But they probably paid expenses if she travelled around. But all that charitable work for her will have opened commercial doors too. And that she would be invited to closed-door corporates, other events. She would get paid, and she'd be seen to be doing all this good work. So you build up the profile. All that's going to go now.
I wonder if
they're going to have more financial problems, and deservedly so. Because the downfall is you can't... If you know somebody is a convicted paedophile and you publicly say, I'm terribly sorry I associated with them, I made a big mistake, and then behind the scenes you're sucking up to them like that. It's awful.
They just don't be financially dependent on somebody else. Because if you're financially dependent on someone else, you're entirely linked to what they do and their reputation.
She could try doing what people watching this programme do, try and live within her means. But that might help.
Yeah.
But, of course, she's lived a lavish, extravagant lifestyle. She loved the royal lifestyle, and she's wanted it to carry on post being a member of the royal family, because technically she's not a member of the royal family.
Or she's accepted largesse and generosity from someone who was trying to buy him.
Exactly. And she tried to sell her husband or ex-husband at the time. It was a newspaper sting. Yeah, but she was... Oh,
$500,000.
Yeah, here we are. You give me lots of money and I'll get you access to him and the royal family.
Well, do you wonder what else is going to come out? I mean, we heard when the Mandelson email was leaked, he himself said, well, I'm afraid there's worse to come.
He did.
We're hearing reporters around this story saying there is more to come out. What else
why
can there
people
be?
would want to conduct any form of relationship with a serial paedophile, a man who trafficked girls who were as young as 14, is frankly disgusting.
Yeah, but possibly two reasons. One is you're frightened what they could do to you in your past associations and what they could reveal about you. And then secondly, maybe you wanted to carry on the lavish lifestyle he provided with holidays.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Holidays beyond the purchasing power of...
It's always going to come back and bite you, as Peter Manson has discovered.
Yeah.
If you're not a British citizen, you shouldn't get welfare. That's effectively what Farage is saying.
This is a massive, massive statement by Reform, who, yet again, are dominating the political agenda. The Lib Dems conference blown out the water, he's listening to them. And he's talking about abolishing this benefit that's been around for decades now, which he says is indefinite leave to remain has become permanent leave to remain. So you're going to be tested up to 5 years. If you don't meet certain criteria, out, even if you've lived here for 5 years. I think it'd be very popular.
Former Mirror colleague of
very
mine
popular.
Used to work for, I think, the Mail on Sunday, possibly the Mail as well. Worked in America a long time, paid into their system. He now gets a small pension out. I think if you pay in, you work, you pay in, you get out. That's it. Yeah, I agree. Free rides now. Only if you arrive in this country and you're destitute and a refugee, we put you on your feet, then you have to work and pay your way. But if you pay in, you get out. So, no, I disagree. Look, you've got to confront what Farage and Reform are now doing, both in principle and the practicalities, because all these proposals fall apart when they come under scrutiny. Even the, was it 230 billion figure he is using has been disowned by the people he's using it from, who say it's not accurate. You get lots of Reform councillors around the country who are elected saying, oh, we're going to get rid of all these equality people in the town halls, and then they find out there really aren't any to get rid of. They keep coming up with invented figures, but it's absolutely repugnant and it's racist.
This line from the Times coverage piqued my interest. Senior Reform figures said they were privately delighted with the row over cost, likening it to the debate over Vote Leave's £350 million a week NHS savings claim on the side of the bus during the Brexit referendum. But I remember asking Nigel Farage about the £350 million on the side of the bus.
He always says it wasn't his.
He said it wasn't his and it was never going to happen.
But he said it was a different part of the leaving the EU campaign.
So
it was somebody else's figure.
They say that they're delighted about the comparison, are they also acknowledging that this 234 billion is never going to happen?
They are delighted that we are yet again talking about reform that is determined to try to get with a welfare bill that has spiralled massively out of control and with a migration system that has collapsed and that legal migration is out of control, as is illegal migration. And that's what they're delighted about, because they are out of control.
This is not about boats. This is much further. This is
about legal migration.
This is not...
This is the Boris wave.
It's not about boats, though, is it? I understand people's concerns about it. This is not. It's a much bigger attack on a multicultural, vibrant Britain. That's what it is.
And is he reading the room right in terms of the public mood? I mean, however we can dissect the figures which he's putting out at the moment, is he reading the room right?
No, I don't think he is.
No, I think he's overplaying his hand, and I'm delighted he's overplaying his hand, because most people are reasonable and decent.
And would probably, I think lots of people, particularly in multicultural cities, might know someone who would be targeted under this retrospective. Did you get indefinite leave to remain? Well, we're going to double-check that you and your wife can meet all the criteria.
And this would be much easier to enforce if it applied to people coming in, not people already here.
Some of those he'd kick out, for instance, are Ukrainians. Now, when Russia invaded Ukraine, an incredible number of people incredibly generously opened their houses to take in Ukrainian families.
And schools.
I'm sorry, Britain is not the racist country that Nigel Farage thinks or wants us to be.
Do you think he's overplaying?
He can excite a base, but that base, I think, is going to shrink. I think
what they've announced is fraught with all sorts of technical difficulties, but I think, yet again, he's dominating the agenda yet again, and that's what he wants.
OK. Daily Mail is reporting this morning, this will get people going, that Labour is dropping its pledge to maintain a minimum of fortnightly collections of your bins, and they now say that more than 2 million people across England alone are going to have to wait an extra week to have them emptied. So we're going to be having 3-week waits to have your bins emptied.
It's it's going to cause all sorts of problems with health, isn't it?
Yes. And rats, and
that's what I mean. Vermin.
Foxes.
Yeah.
Honestly.
They're going to have a field day.
And I'm sure many people like me have sometimes not had their bin collected for whatever reason. You wait another 3 weeks. You've got 6 weeks of rubbish trying to squeeze into that
Foxes
bin.
knocking the bins over.
This started
strewn down the street. It's appalling.
This started with a Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition when Eric Pickles was the Environment Secretary, and all of a sudden you don't have to have weekly bin collections, didn't get enough money. It was always up to councils. I'm just old-fashioned and simple about this. You get your bins collected on a Tuesday. You know it's a Tuesday. You put your bins out on a Tuesday. I'm very happy, and I think it's a good idea to put cardboard and glass and tin, cans separately, recycling. I'm all for that. Yep. Newspapers.
I agree, Kevin, and this is about promoting recycling. But under this plan, it's going to be called the 1, 2, 3 system. Food waste will be collected once a week. Phew. Although
literally,
it stinks, doesn't it? Especially in the summer. Even after a week, your food waste stinks. Recyclables once a fortnight, and residual waste every 3 weeks. As if once you've done your food waste and your recyclables, you've only got a tiny amount of normal waste. Most people still fill a bin with their normal waste. I'm obsessed with bins, I know. Viewers will forgive me, I'm obsessed with bins.
It's one of the basics with when you pay your council tax. You want the street lights to work, you don't want potholes, and you want your bins collected
can I also just,
every week.
Can I also just say, and I'm thinking, I'm reasonably plugged in, but nevertheless, every 3 weeks, right, if I know it's the first Thursday in the month or something, I might remember, every 3 weeks, it's going to change, isn't it? It's going to, as you go through a calendar.
I have to keep a chart in my kitchen to remind me.
It's going to encourage fly tipping.
And yes, as well as flies.
I think it's flies rather than fly tipping, but it's just
horrible.
You want, and particularly in urban areas and cities, and you have multiple occupation, and so it's just no.
Talk to the people of Birmingham about what it's like not having your bin collected.
Been going since March, that strike.
We're going to
Another sign, Labour, completely out of touch.
Talking to Matthew Pennycook, he's the Minister for Housing and Planning, a bit later on the programme, about he wants to boast basically about this government's tremendous strides forward in infrastructure in this country. I mean, which is an interesting statement when you look at what happened with the HS2 and
well, they inherited that.
Bridge. But isn't this question of bin collection just another symptom of the decline?
It is. It's one of the most basic rights, frankly. Someone called it a human right. I remember who said that. But it's a basic right, and they've got to honour it.
Well, why don't we ask our viewers, collecting your bin, your rubbish bin, every 3 weeks, good idea, bad idea?
I think we know the answer to that.